These are the Placeholder NPCs.
I'm Dush. I play the mystic Arc Ferris, who goes by the call sign Rook.
I'm Sam. I play Algernon, Kentucky Blue, the Stitch, who is the medic of the Koi Fish.
I'm Lex, and I play Voel Burung, our trusty pilot, and I go by the call sign Demon.
My name is Xeno. I'll be taking on the role of Game Master, and this is our homebrew Scum Villainy campaign of Dark Cosmos.
Back to walking into the room.
You see Alburn immediately double over in pain. I'm gonna start a clock. It's gonna have 4 segments. From your medical expertise, if this thing, whatever it is on his hand, grows enough to get to Alben's heart, he is dead.
Yeah. Okay. I immediately reach into my bag, pull out a syringe, pin him to the floor, onto his back, and jab it into his arm. And this is a little homebrew solution that will act as slowing down the spread. Just because Algernon's aware that we do not want it to reach his heart quickly and kill him when we could be discovering so much more with him being alive. So I'm just trying to, keep him ticking for longer.
As you run over to him, pin him down, you notice that his fingers are starting to turn to that stone obsidian, and it is beginning to head up into his hand.
Cool.
But as you pin him down, the thing he grabbed rolls out onto the floor, and it looks like a stone apple. That same obsidian just rolls across in the shape of an apple.
Oh, okay.
The sister is going to walk over and pick up the apple, looks at it, turns it over in her hand, and then goes to step out of the room. I
call out to her when she's walking away. Sister, I highly recommend you leave that in this room. It's quite a dangerous piece of matter.
She turns to look at you. I think this might need some kind of dice roll, actually.
Mm-hmm.
What skill are you trying to use to try and convince her to leave that apple?
Well, I guess I could push myself to make it a doctor roll. Mainly because, in my medical opinion, this guy just fucking grabbed it and his hand is starting to turn obsidian. I know this came from a precursor artifact. I am not overly surprised that the sister is able to somewhat handle this fine on her own right now. But that doesn't mean that it's not dangerous for other people, especially outside of a controlled environment.
Okay. I'm going to say this will be a risky limited roll.
Okay.
And you're pushing yourself to make that a doctor skill?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you're going to try and add to that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. How many dice are you rolling for this one?
Well, it's doctor roll, so it'll be 2.
Cool. Let's get a roll then.
Let's see. Okay, it's time. Got a 6.
Remind me again what you're saying to her.
I'm essentially telling her to put it back down to stop her from leaving with it. I say it's a very dangerous piece of matter, and it shouldn't leave this room. I don't even know where she's going. I guess I was very suspicious of her just walking in and grabbing it and leaving.
The sister stops close to the door, turns back to you and goes, I understand. This is of dangerous make. What knowledge do you have that I do not that would make you better recipients? And she's handing out the apple in her hand.
At this point, I assume the professor's looking at Alben on the floor, trying to help him. I just get up and walk over to the sister. As I outstretch my hand underneath hers, I say, I possess no greater knowledge, but I challenge you to find anyone else in this sector that would sacrifice more than myself to uncover its secrets.
A bold challenge indeed. One that sacrifices everything would be a better recipient. Hence, the matron herself. Would she not be the best to claim this apple?
Yeah. Okay. So this sister, when she speaks of sacrifice, she's just kind of speaking to some sort of religious dogma mumbo jumbo that people outside of the engineering guild don't believe.
Maybe some believe it.
Okay. So given that Algernon is aware of the technical advances of the engineering guild, as a sister, is she actually competent in the field in terms of combat, Is she just like, you know, a tech person, like research person? More to the point, if I'm to pull a gun on her and shoot her in the stomach right now, will that actually work? Or would that be a dumb idea?
No one knows much about the sisterhood, so they're very secretive. There's no reports of a sister being injured in doing crime, being caught up in like fights. So you would suspect that she might have something there that would protect her. It will definitely come down to a dice roll at this point.
Yeah, right.
There's not a lot known about how the sisterhood works.
In this case, it seems that Algernon is probably quite aware of the fact that he's probably not going to be able to, I guess, logic his way into getting this thing. And the smart money would be to not try and force it. So I think he's probably going to concede that he's not going to get his hands on this orb today. And that the next best thing is probably going to be the cube, Alben, or both. He withdraws his hand and just says, "Very well," and turns back to Alben, presumably letting the sister go walk away.
You turn your back on the sister and head back to Alburn. He's still on the floor. This obsidian is starting to creep up across the palm of his hand.
Yeah.
And it is growing a lot faster than you expected it to. Florence is there. She's like, there must be something we can do with this man. He's just a volunteer. I didn't mean this to happen to him.
Yes, well, cost of progress, I'm afraid, Professor. And he kind of like looks Alben over. If I had this man back at my theatre, there's probably more I could do for him. But at this point, we have only a couple of options. And he like opens his bag and pulls out a hacksaw. He turns to the professor and says, "Either way, I'll need to take this man back with me, but as this is your domain, I'll let you make the choice. Either he becomes fully transfigured into glass, or he loses his arm."
Alben pipes up and is like, no, don't take my arm. And he is beginning to kind of thrash about a little bit, trying to push you back.
Okay, he pushes me back. I like get up, put my things back in my bag, and I shrug. Well, no skin off my back. I'll return when your thrashing has come to an end. And I start to walk out.
Florence turns and goes, you can't just leave him here. You're a doctor. Didn't you do an oath or something to protect people? What kind of person are you, just leaving him here?
I turn back to specifically look at Florence. I kind of snap back and say, "And what of your creed? Did you not serve this man up as a platter to an unknown foreign eldritch object in the pursuit of science? And now you come lecture me about my oath. I am here to help better understand the nature of these foreign objects. And yes, as it so happens, I have a skill set that will allow me to help perpetuate life and put a stopgap on the inevitable. That being said, I'm not really one to be fighting my patients on that contention. So unless this man is willing to give up his arm for his life, then he will be giving up his body for science."
Let's get another dice roll going.
Cool.
What skill do you think you'd be using in this moment of time?
I don't even know, really. Like, I don't even think that he's trying to accomplish something more than he's just trying to make a point. Like, he doesn't really care how this goes, one way or the other. He's made efforts to try and slow down the growth, to study him better, but it's not working. So either way, he's going to be doing his experiments on a crystallized limb or a crystallized body. And he'll be taking them back to the Syndicate. Again, it's the injecting of humanity into his field of science that really pisses him off. He didn't take an oath to save people. He picked up these skills to better understand the artifacts and the precursors. No one gets to dictate how Algernon uses his skills, and they certainly don't get to guilt him for it.
Okay, I'm picturing this as a sway roll. You're trying to change her opinion of you just enough to side with you as opposed to her own beliefs.
Sure. I will roll. I've got 2 in sway.
2 in sway. I think you're in control here. So let's go controlled standard.
Okay, I got the highest is a 4.
Highest is a 4. It's still a success. I'm going to tick off one segment of the clock as you're having this discussion. So we're at 1 of 4. Alben screams out in pain again, and you see the stone is making it up past his wrist into his lower arm. Florence turns back to you and goes, "Okay, we can't just leave him like this. What do you want me to do?"
He kind of like weighs it up for a second, and he says, "Well, you start by holding him down. I'll shut him up." And he pulls out a syringe of anesthesia.
Florence nods and holds down his arms on the ground. You step forward, find a vein to put this in, and in a few moments, he stops riling about and goes limp. Florence goes, "What do we do next?"
We don't do anything. I need you to contact my transport and get it ready to move this man back to my operating theatre. Call this number, say that Dr. Blue needs a transport for himself and a patient. In the meantime, I will deal with the amputation. I'll be taking both pieces of him with me.
She looks a little shaky, and then she heads out of the room to go make that call.
Okay.
As she heads out of the room, you look back and you can see the sister still standing there behind the glass, just watching.
I make eye contact briefly before turning back to turn my attention to Alben, like watching the spread of the obsidian.
What do you do next?
I retrieve the aforementioned hacksaw. I mean, actually, I don't even know it has to be as blazers. We're in the fucking future, right? Like, it could be a laser thing.
Could be a laser saw, yeah.
A laser saw, yeah, that makes more sense. Don't want to get like halfway through and have to snap it off. Let the technology work for me. So Algernon pulls out a laser saw and is kind of like lining it up, kind of like just quickly, opens up the eyelid of one of Alben's eyes just to like check the dilation, that kind of stuff, make sure he's not responsive, and he seems fine.
He is out for the count.
And then, Algernon will start using the laser saw to amputate his arm, making sure to be careful with the arm itself when it's crystallizing, make sure that it's not spraying to himself, obviously, and making sure that it's out of reach just in case Professor comes back and for some unknown dumb reason decides to touch it. And once he saws it off, he'll cauterize it to stop the bleeding and start prepping him for transport. He'll also like pull out like a cool little expanding containment unit, and it just kind of like resizes it to match the arm as it still crystallizes, so that it can be safely transported.
Okay. I think in your inventory item you have access to a fine medkit.
Yes.
That would make sense in this one to use that over the normal medkit.
That is, I guess, what I had in mind when I mentioned that he puts his own medikit together.
Mark that off as an inventory, and let's get a doctoring roll then to see how cleanly you can perform this amputation in probably not the most ideal circumstances.
Yeah, I think I'll probably push myself to make sure that this is as close to ideal as possible.
I think this is still pretty risky, and we're going to go standard effect. If you want, you can exchange the position and effect and go a desperate roll for greater effect, but that's up to you if you think that's valid in this situation.
So what does that imply?
So you're putting yourself at more danger, but you're going to get a better outcome from this situation. That could be like less damage to the specimen, maybe less harm done to Alben. I guess it depends also how we set up the environment as well. So maybe because you got the sister standing there, maybe something happens with her.
Yeah, alright, let's do it.
I will need you to tell me though how a risky situation becomes a desperate situation.
Right. I guess that's the part I need clarification on. So like in terms of what could go wrong if I get this wrong.
You can kill Alben, maybe.
Like, I guess I could, but I can't, because this is a prequel episode and we know he lives.
Correct. There could be other things. You could be damaging reputation with the Institute. You've got a very expensive MRI machine and the precursor artifact here as well. You've got the Sisterhood watching. There could be something there from the Matron side. Maybe something happens with Florence. There's a few things there that are non-Alben based, so I think there's going to be more influence issues that might arise.
Yeah, okay.
being a backstory, you're currently working for the Syndicate, so
Yeah.
if any tensions arise, you'll be causing it to be between the Syndicate and the Cecil Institute, as opposed to the Koi Fish.
That is true, but no one knows that I'm from the Syndicate.
Maybe that comes out, ends up being a consequence.
Yeah, I think that probably works. I'm unsure as to specifically how that happens, but
What if we make this desperate? Because the precursor artifact is still floating there in the MRI. What if there is some kind of residual coming from that's now speeding up this obsidian process?
Okay.
Or what if we have Concordant coming into the room? Maybe in the time all this has gone down, officers from the Concordant Knights have stormed in, or from the Concordant Archives have come in. So now we're introducing another faction.
Okay, so you're saying that because they are now in the room, it means that the stakes are higher.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, I think that works as well, because if it fails, then I've got transport coming, and I would assume that does include, a couple of guards to help in a firefight if it does break out. So it'll be more of me trying to hold my own up until that point.
Mhm.
So I think that works. I think having the Concordant there, having a couple of knights there, would make sense after hearing that a volunteer is being gravely injured.
Mm-hmm. So as Florence has exiting the room, I think she bumps into a couple Concordant Knights who turn and state, "Excuse me, is this where the artifact is currently being tested? We're on duty to retrieve it and return it to the archives." Florence goes, yes, sorry, I'm just in the middle of a thing. It's just inside that room there. Please, you have to excuse me. And she goes running down the corridor. As you're pulling out your equipment here on the floor, these guards walk into the room that you're in. They look like they're moving towards the artifact.
Probably, without looking at them, I will probably say, "Please hold back on entering the room until I've finished this operation. Man's life is at stake here."
I'll get you to give me your dice roll. We're at a desperate with greater effect. And we said we had 2 doctor die.
Mm-hmm. I did say I'd push myself.
Mark on 2 stress and grab yourself an extra die.
So that's 3 dice all up, is that right?
Sounds so good to me.
3. 3 is my highest again.
That is not good for you, buddy.
No. But I do get an XP for the desperate roll, right?
You do get an XP for a desperate roll.
Excellent.
Things are going to go bad.
Yay.
Do you think you would have gotten to start the amputation, or would you think the complication here is that it has interrupted you from starting?
I don't necessarily care about his well-being, so I don't think starting and stopping halfway would be too much of a consequence at this point in time. I think the fact that he's not able to start at all, and he has, and it's spreading, is probably the bigger consequence.
You go to lower down this laser saw, but the guards step in and interrupt your process. One of them yells to another, "You, secure the artifact. Get that out of here. We need medical assistance now. Get this man into a secure facility." They've come in and taken control from you. So you've lost your opportunity to remove this arm. And you've lost access to the artifact. Thank you for making it through another episode. We'd love to hear your feedback on the show. If you have any questions or theories you'd like to discuss, then leave us a message in the comments of your favorite podcasting platform, and we'll do our best to reply when we can. Otherwise, come hang out with us on Instagram under the handle Placeholder NPCs. Background music for this episode is by Sasha End, opening credits by Feslian Studios, and sound effects by Zapsplat.com. All the links are in the episode description.